Hey everyone, this is Dewey in Nashville, coming back at you for another update. It is August 15th, and we've got a lot of progress on the garden so far. A lot of things I'm pleased with, and this is going to be on the raised beds and the rain gutter grow systems. So let's get started. As you can see, I have mulched the bed, and I just did this yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to see the effects of it. Big reason was because the broccoli and some of the lettuce plants were blowing over, and so I wanted to get some mulch down to support them whenever the wind blows, because this in between the houses is kind of like a wind channel by the houses from the park across the street. So it gets a lot of wind, which would make the stalks sturdier, but if a gust blows through before they're ready, it also can really harm the plants. So I mulched it. That also keeps the moisture in, and with a surface area this size, so close to the water reservoir, it would be hard to not lose moisture. So the mulch will help keep that in. So you can see iceberg lettuce is making its way pretty nicely. I'm going to need to give it some compost tea because it's starting to yellow a little bit. The mesclun or leaf lettuce is doing pretty well. There are a few spots where you don't see four, actually just mainly that one in the middle there. Some of them didn't germinate, but at this stage in the game I'm not too worried about it. The ones that have germinated and have grown have started to really take over and put out some leaves, so we might be having some salad here in the next few weeks. The broccoli, transplanted broccoli back there, is starting to put out a head of buds, so we'll be getting some broccoli off of it pretty soon. The rest of the broccoli that's sprouted is starting to do really well. It's got 3 or 4 leaves on each plant, coming up rather nicely. Squash is just blowing up. And if you can go back to the first video when right after I transplanted it, you'd see that it kind of looked like that one, a little scraggly thing, and now it's just huge. There's 3 fruits on it, and it's putting out a 4th and 5th. So it's really taken well to this bed. It really likes the nutrients in the water, much better than the little container it came from. Carrots are doing well, starting out pretty well. I had one spot that didn't germinate, but the rest of them have all popped up, and I've thinned them out, so I'm just waiting on them to really start growing. They've got a couple true leaves on them already, and once they get big enough to where I don't have to worry about breaking the stems, I'll mulch around them. And another little thing of lettuce. Got some carrots over there that I'm not sure about. Let me come on this side for you. Not really sure about these carrots. It's gets a lot of shade from the squash plant. That squash is expanding a lot more than I'd expected when I put it back here and I planted these. So I'm not real sure about these carrots, if they're going to really be very good or not. They might just be baby carrots, which is fine with me. They haven't all germinated, but seeing as that the squash is going to be overtaking them soon, I'm not really going to worry about putting down more seed. The green beans are a specimen of health right now. Huge leaves vining up the trellis nicely. Got that one over there. I don't know if you can see how it's vined all the way up past the cucumber vine, but they are making their way up the trellis nicely, and probably here in the next few weeks, hoping that they'll be tall enough to where they'll start putting out flowers and blooming. Cucumber plant, it's easy to see it's doing well. It's put out a nice size cucumber there, and one thing I've noticed compared to the ones that it put out on the back in the backyard in that little container, those turned bright yellow and they were bitter and they just didn't do well, whereas that one is staying rather dark green, and looks like it's going to be a nice tasting cucumber once it fully forms. So we'll be pulling it out. I've had a little bit of a resurgence of the cucumber beetles, I've noticed, now that I have healthy plants, so taking care of those as I see them this time instead of letting them mature and then reproduce, and then I've got an infestation. So tomato plant's doing real well. It's lost all its tomatoes. since I think the shock caused them to go ahead and ripen all of them real quick, so we pulled all of them off, and now we're just waiting for all the buds that have formed to form fruit. So that's the raised bed, and let me take you back to the rain gutter grow systems here in a sec. Alright, here's the rain gutter grow system. So you can see I moved it. The spot it was at was only getting about 4 or 5 hours of sun, which is not quite enough to get a lot of production out of plants, except for leafy stuff like lettuce and kale, and that's not all I have planted back here. So I moved them, and I've added a couple probably since the last time you've been on an adventure with me. So and I'm actually adding a fourth and fifth, Lord willing, over the next couple weeks to go ahead and get some more fall crop in. So we'll show you what we got growing here. I got a couple broccoli that have sprouted there, none there, so I might be reseeding that here soon. I got some carrots that have come up quite nicely. Seeing all but one that's sprouted so far. Some beets that I'm going to need to thin here in the next few days. Little zucchini plant, a test plant to see how well this system works. It's growing pretty well so far. Some peas. One didn't quite sprout, so we'll just go with 3 in that container, and more peas in these, and a cucumber. Again, another test plant. I've got a lot of seeds, so I figured I'd just see how well it would grow back here. This one was planted about a week after the other rain gutter, so it hasn't really formed as much yet. I got some broccoli down there that have just sprouted. My spinach has not sprouted, and it probably should have by now, so I'll end up reseeding this area. I got some turnips that have sprouted for the most part. I got a couple spots that haven't really taken very well. Radishes, as usual with radishes, they're coming in quick and fast and furious, so in a few more weeks they'll be ready to harvest. And then got lots more broccoli back here, some that have sprouted and some that haven't. So I may end up replanting a couple of those. Here's the gutter system I just built the other day. So it's obviously nothing in here sprouted. I got carrots there. These are beans and more carrots. Turnips, radishes. I need to top water them to make sure they germinate right. And then I transplanted these squash from the back deck. So they're actually taking pretty well. The color has turned. They used to all be kind of pale yellow like that leaf there. Now this one's starting to take well to it, and I can see a lot more leaves forming in the center, and the leaves that are out are a lot greener. So it looks like it's enjoying the rain gutter bucket a lot better than the old container it was in. This one still hasn't decided. I see leaves in the growing tip, so that means the growing tip hasn't died like the other one in the raised bed. So hopefully it will take well and form pretty well off of that. This is a cherry tomato that was actually a clipping from the lanky cherry tomato on the other side of the yard that you can see in the actual garden update videos, where I go over the non-self-irrigating stuff. But this one is it was 6 or 8 inches when I first planted it, and keep in mind it's planted all the way to the bottom of the bucket soil wise, and so I had it in a container, an unused container from when I pulled up some other stuff, and it grew and took root. That's the great thing about tomato suckers. You just pull them off the plant, pull the leaves off, and plant them in the ground or in some dirt, and they'll just root and start growing. And so you can see all the new leaves. Even got some flower buds forming right in there. So this one is taking very well to the rain gutter system. And I'm hoping that even though we've only got a couple months left of the growing season, that this guy will grow and give a few fruit, and then I can take a clipping off of him and put it in a pot inside, grow it over the winter, and then that plant will probably get kind of lanky over the winter, or leggy, and then come next spring, early spring, I can take about 6 or 7 clippings off of that one and form them into their own plants, root them, and then bring them outside as transplants, and it's like the plant that never dies. I mean, it started out as a little cherry tomato. Purchased at the store, and grew into a big plant. Take a clipping off of it, it turns into a big plant. Take a clipping off of that, it turns into a big plant, and on and on and on the cycle goes. So I'm hoping that next year I won't have to buy any tomato plants, and I may not even have to raise much seed, at least with cherry tomatoes. This is a cherry tomato. I'll just be able to plant clippings, rooted clippings, and they'll take root and grow and become plants themselves. So, lots of fun stuff to look forward to in the next few months. So this is Dewey in Nashville reminding you, you plant the seed, but God's the one that sends the harvest.